Hello and welcome back. This is Chrissy Green making another video tutorial for the members at the Photography for Beginners editing group. If you joined me for my last video, then you know what I'm doing here. Those of you who are just joining me now, what I am doing is making a composite image and going over the various ways that I use to select and blend images and shape the images that I do have and put all of the pieces together in a picture that kind of looks like that's the way it always was. So in my last video I showed how to use the pen tool to shape the fabric that was used here. If you're interested in learning how to use the pen tool in Photoshop, and I will admit it's a funny little tool to try to master, check out the previous video. For this one though, what we're going to do is place in a little helium heart with a little red bow and make it look like that balloon is holding the fabric up. So without further ado, let's go and take a look at our heart. This is an image that I purchased from Shutterstock, and I chose it specifically because it had more than one balloon and they were at different kind of angles. For my main image that I was using these for, I actually have 4 pieces of fabric and I needed 4 balloons to hold them up, so I went for an image that had multiple balloons on it. For the sake of this demo, I'm only doing one, and I will just take this nice big balloon. And before, when I was, in my last video, I used the pen tool to select the dress because I wanted that crisp, flawless, sharp line. That doesn't work for this. I technically I could spend an hour using the pen tool, but I like these little ridges that you get on helium balloons like this. And the pen tool, unless I want to get inside absolutely every one of these little bumps, I'm going to lose a lot of that. So pen tool, as much as I love it, is not going to help me out here. It's not my friend. There are a lot of ways to do some selecting. What I did when I was editing this image though was I just used the quick select tool. And it's just a matter of drawing inside this shape. And don't forget to get his little tail down here. I don't need the string for this image. And that's it. And if I zoom in, it's not flawless. Photoshop does have its limitations, and there are places where the red and the white blend together, and Photoshop just can't decide where to end that selection to make it perfect. But anyway, here is my selected heart. So I will copy it, Control C. I'll go back to my image and I will hit Control V to paste that. And here is my image. Now, somebody in the groups had mentioned that when they are putting things into their images, there's a little bit of a white line around them. It's kind of like a little tell that says, hey, this image was cut out from something else and didn't really belong here. And it is true. That little edge that you see, it's a dead giveaway. And you can see it right there, all the way around my image. Honestly, the easiest thing to do at this point is to just select this and get rid of it. So if I hold Control while I click on this little square here, it's going to select my image. I can then go to Select, Modify, and Contract, and I can tell Photoshop how far in to pull this selection. So I'm going to say I'm something safe, so maybe 3 or 4, let's say 4, and click OK. Yeah, that was probably too many. Select, Modify, Contract. Let's go with 2. There we go. So then I'm going to invert my selection really easily, and then I'll hit Delete. As you can see, I no longer have that white border around my image, which is what was making it look so artificial in the first place. So now what I have is a pretty good selection. I do like that. My image is stronger lit. I do like this. My main light in this image was a giant softbox right over here, and I had a shoot-through umbrella on this side. So I do feel like the lighting is matching up really good here. If I wanted to, adjust a little bit, I could probably burn side of my balloon here, just darken it up a little bit. Sure, I like that. Hey, whatever. So then the next thing that I did was add a bow. Let's see, this is just, I just picked this bow for this image because it was already cut out and I'm short on time. So I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to drag it into my portrait. Hey, that's a great bow. Selected flawlessly, looks wonderful. Wrong color, isn't it though? You can see that the color, the temperature of this bow is really warm compared to the picture. Maybe in hindsight I shouldn't have picked a red one, simply because it's hard to see on my picture. And I'm just going to slap that there. But it's still kind of on the orange side. When you're compositing images, temperature is very important. If one element is really warm, so you know it's on the yellow end of the scale, and your image is cooler, which is more towards the blue, it's going to be very obvious that they weren't in the same space when the picture was taken. You can modify this in a lot of different ways. Photo filters work good to a certain extent. I can make an image warmer by adding a color. I can also cool down an image by, adding a cool filter. And, if you're looking, you can see it does go from orange to more of a red. Usually what I just do is go to Selective Color. I like Selective Color, it's nice. So if I stay in the red channel, I can take out some yellows. And maybe I'll add some blacks. And I can add the blue there too. So you can see it really changed that. And if I wanted to, I could even add like a hint of a shadow below that. So I'll grab a brush, maybe at about 10%. That's at 18, that's fine. And on a layer just below this bow, I'll just click in a little bit and I'll darken the dress and the balloon behind the bow to make that bow stand out. Probably going to have to erase it off the background here because a shadow from the bow wouldn't hit that background. It would just hit the balloon and the dress. So there, now you can see, without the shadow, with the shadow. It doesn't even have to be very precise. I was just slapping black in there. If you get it too strong, you can play with the opacity of that shadow layer. The bow is still a little on the warm side. It's actually not a good, it's probably not the best example to use for this because it's not an actual bow. It's not a photograph of a bow. It's just a vector that somebody rendered in Illustrator. For the sake of trying to make a tutorial very quickly though, it was the one that was already cut out, so I grabbed it. Now, the other thing you want to do when you're placing things in your image is to decide where in the image they are. Do they exist on your focal plane, which means they are in perfect focus? In photography, that's wherever your subject's eyes are usually. So this balloon technically is as far away from the camera as her eyes are because it's directly behind her head. If this, balloon bow bit of fabric was behind her, I would blur that. And blurring tells your eye that this is something that is behind your subject. It is not on the same focal point. You need to select it all, go to down here, select your balloon, filter, blur. I'm running out of time. You can do a lens blur, which is what Jan usually suggests. You can use Gaussian blur. And it pushes it into the background, or it can push it into the foreground, but it takes it off of that same focal plane, and it does give you depth, which is what you need. And that depth, along with adjusting the lighting, adding shadows, adjusting your temperature, these are things that make these images look like they were part of the original photograph. If you miss any of those steps, it becomes very obvious that this is a cut and paste job. I'm out of time now. I really hope that I explained this well enough. If you have questions,